Well, the main issues are a repeat of what happened back in the early 2000s when claims became out of control. Costs, fraudulent claims, increased costs in insurance premiums, etc., were out of control. They were then dealt with by the then Minister, Michael McDonagh, and Mary Harney, and the PIAB was set up in order to decrease the legal costs for the most part and costs in dealing with claims. That worked tremendously well from 2004 until 2008 approximately, when judicial reviews were taken, 21 in total I think, were taken to take away the powers of the Personal Injuries Assessment Board by the legal profession. That then caused a huge increase again in relation to legal costs, in relation to payouts. The Circuit Court increased from, I think it was 38,000 to 75,000. The District Court increased from 6,000 to 15,000. And then, of course, solicitors' costs increased because I suppose when they saw that the awards were increasing, they felt their costs increased. Also, the failure by various government bodies, I suppose, over the years to enforce the 2004 Civil Liabilities Act in a number of ways. First of all, it was there was to be a register of claimants, whereby the courts would take a register of claimants and note them down. That never happened. The second thing that wasn't enforced was failure of the judiciary to inform the Gardaí or the DPP of fraudulent claimants. Over that 14 or 15 year period, I think there were only one or two that were referred to the Gardaí, as far as I know. We ourselves actually referred 3 claims to the Gardaí, but said it was a civil matter, it wasn't for them to consider. And then failure again by the solicitors to inform the defendant of the claim within the specified time limit. Now, the time limit at the time was 2 months. It has since been reduced to 1 month, but that has never been enforced at either. So therefore, you're at a loss if the claim comes in after 2 months, because your CCTV under data protection is supposed to be got rid of after 2 months. Another reason for an increase in the awards was the Department of Social Welfare claimed back from the insurance companies or from the defendant, the insured party, the social welfare payments that had been paid out during the time the person was either off work or allegedly off work or whatever. And that added to the cost of the claim as well. So all these combined added hugely to the cost of claims. Of course, you also have the situation that occurred that insurance companies, because when they go to court, they're pretty much afraid in some cases to go to court. Insurance companies like to settle claims. So 95% of claims are settled outside of courts. And the reason for it is that in a lot of cases, it's who's the ability to pay is what makes the decision in relation to how the claim works, or how the claim is decided is probably more so. And as I say, in our own experience, even in the last few days, we had a situation where the insurance company were advising us to settle a claim. We said no, we wanted to defend it. They said, look, we are strongly advising to settle this claim. And the claim was, they wanted to settle it for 20,000. We said, no, we're going to hold our guns on this one. And what happened at the end of the day? The claim was withdrawn, because they were afraid to take it into court because of the evidence maybe we had. They weren't aware of that. Now you have a situation where you have insurance companies, as say, settling claims without the consent of the insured party. As far as I'm concerned, and People might like to hear this, might not like to hear this. The whole system is corrupt because they're all working in liaison with one another. Insurance companies, the legal profession, the fraudulent claimants, and obviously other parts of the industry as well. And they're all working together as a group. If you look at any situation that occurs like this, you ask, where does the money go? It's to the legal profession. The claimants and the fraudulent claimants are secondary. So most of the money, in our experience, goes to the legal profession. Of course, insurance companies also like to see a lot of claims because they can push up the premium without anyone objecting to it, because all they say is, well, look at all the claims that are there. And so therefore, and there's no restriction on what they can put up their premium. There's no government restriction, so they can put it up 20, 30, 40, 100%, 200%. So what's really happening is this needs to be addressed, can be addressed, and will be addressed. Well, the solutions are very simple. We're making this sound very, very complicated. But the solutions are very simple. First of all, enforce the existing laws that are there. There's the 2004 Civil Liabilities Act, which states that a register of claimants should be held by the courts, so that if there are very irregular claimants appearing in court, then the courts become aware of it and they refer it to the Gardaí or whatever. That hasn't happened. Now, the reasons that it hasn't happened are varied, but the bottom line is it doesn't cost a fortune to have 2 or 3 people keeping a record of all the claims that are occurring right across the country. With today's modern technology, that's very simple. But there's no willingness or willpower there to deal with that situation. When PIAB was in charge of claims from 2004 to 2008, it reduced your overall legal costs tremendously and your overall costs. It worked very well. But the legal profession and the Law Society took 21 different judicial reviews in order to reduce basically the power of PIAB and to get themselves represented in PIAB. That was the main reason why we have huge increases in the costs. So I would say, give the power back to PIAB again, so that they can decide claims and deal with claims in a fair and equitable manner, and reduce the level of legal fees and other costs associated with them. The third thing I would say is to prevent the misuse of data protection. We have solicitors writing to us on a weekly basis looking for the CCTV coverage of their claim. Now, that's our evidence, and in some cases data protection will send you a letter say to give it to them. Now, that's our privileged information in order to defend ourselves. So there's no reason, in my opinion, why that should be given to the other party, so that they can maybe adjust their claim to suit what's on the CCTV. If their claim is genuine, they won't have to worry about what's on our CCTV to uphold their claim. And the last thing I would say is there needs to be a lot more competition in the insurance market. A lot of people, a lot of insurance companies have left the market because they don't understand the Irish market. It was one of the things that Troika, when they were here, didn't achieve during their time here, is dealing with insurance. And because there is basically a cartel operating, it makes it very difficult for other insurance companies to come into the market, because those that are there don't want competition. If you look at the accounts of the insurance companies operating there in the Irish market, you will see for yourself the huge profits they've been making over the last number of years. Well, if it's not addressed urgently, we are in a very, very serious situation. I don't think people can fully realise the seriousness of the situation. I get calls every other day from different people in relation to different issues. Some people can't open a business because they can't get insurance. Others, say in a call I got last week, they couldn't give a pay rise to their staff because their premium had increased by 250%. And you know, there's others that are there, like the creches and play areas and a whole host of other business, a lot of them service related or tourism related, that are being seriously affected by it. But I think, as often happens in the case, we have to wait for a catastrophe to happen before something is done about it. And then everybody asks, well, why wasn't it dealt with before this? I think it's the onus is on the next government that goes in, whoever they are, to deal with this situation urgently. And I think it's very simple. As I've said already, the reform of the PIAB is the most urgent thing. And the second thing is enforce the laws that are there already. And that will sort out an awful lot of the immediate issues. But if you're waiting for it to have a whole host of different reports happening, whether it is from the Judicial Reforms Committee or whoever it is, you're going to be waiting for another 6 or 8 months. That's going to be too late for a lot of people.